Okay, let's dive straight into something pretty different today. An alternative governance idea called Isé Government, or maybe Economiscracy.
That's right. Our sources frame it as, well, a reaction to the kind of political deadlock and, inequality people are frustrated with.
And the core idea seems to be what? Getting almost everyone, citizens, workers, involved in directing the state.
Exactly. And important to note, this is not the same as that information sharing environment, or ISE, some might know. Totally different thing.
Gotcha. The name itself, economiscracy, it sort of suggests blending economics and governance, doesn't it?
It really does. It points right to that integration. And there's this Kirke term mentioned, Ise, meaning line by line, maybe hints at a very methodical structure.
Interesting. So it's less about competing parties and their, often subjective manifestos.
Completely. The whole idea is to reject that. Instead, they want basic plans, shared goals for development, and crucially, getting all societal groups to chip in rationally.
So dumping partisan politics, because it's seen as illogical. We've all seen how that division can harm trust, right?
Absolutely. And this system really doubles down on rationality, not just for individual economic choices, but for the entire political and legal setup.
Okay, so what are the main pillars holding this up, the key principles?
Well, first off, there's inclusive governance. Think collaboration between selected and elected reps from different sectors.
Selected and elected, okay.
Then cooperative management of resources. The goal here is equitable management to support a really effective welfare state.
Makes sense.
And you mentioned the economy. That's the Awaset economy. Here, the state and federal levels actually have direct control over prices.
Whoa, okay. Direct price control. How does that actually work?
It's called price stabilization through negotiation. The idea is, well, rational discussions with business owners. And remember, these owners are also part of the governing structure in the economia or economicity.
Ah, okay, so they're inside the tent, so to speak.
Exactly, aiming for affordable prices, legally set. Then there's the resourcefulness of inhabitants, measured by something called GEEP, Gross Internal Exchange Product. It's how they gauge a state's wealth.
Jeep? Okay, we'll circle back to that maybe. What else?
And finally, 7T politics. This really highlights the role of what they call associations, kind of the ground-level working-class units in managing resources and welfare.
Okay, quite a few moving parts. How does the actual government structure look then? Is it complex?
It's definitely multifaceted. You've got a legislative arm, naturally. That includes the Economiscracy Parliament, which is the Federal Assembly.
Right.
Its members are elected up from the state-level bodies, the economia assemblies. And these assemblies are made up of economians, those reps from diverse sectors we mentioned.
Yeah, okay, economians. And who leads this legislative arm?
They're called the law ace. They're the executive heads.
Law ace.
Yeah.
Got it. You mentioned a pyramid structure earlier.
Yeah, think of it building upwards. At the very base are those associations. They group together into local unions. There are 8 specific sectors like health, education, agriculture, industry, and so on.
8 sectors. Okay.
These local unions elect people to the next level, the Aralis assemblies. Then those assemblies elect members to the state-level economia assemblies.
And the economy assemblies elect to the federal level.
Precisely, to the economies at parliament.
Right.
So it's quite indirect. The main job of the economians within all this is to find rational, equitable, stabilizing compromises.
Compromises built in. What about the executive branch? Who implements policy?
That falls to the Cervicran at the state level and the Management at the federal level. They handle the social welfare, economic policies, manage infrastructure, resources, prepare the budget, that sort of thing.
Do they have unchecked power?
No, definitely not. Their power is limited, especially in foreign affairs. Like, they can't make peace treaties without the legislature's okay. The management can issue orders in, say, an emergency security situation involving external aggression, but they are ultimately accountable to the people.
And the courts. The judiciary.
Standard functions, mostly. Interpreting laws, enforcing them, handling disputes, protecting rights, overseeing the police. It's the constitutional guardian.
Are there different levels?
Yes. Supreme, federal, state, and even treaty courts at the local level. But there's a key philosophy here: legal rationalism.
Legal rationalism. What's that about?
The idea is laws should be in plain, simple language, trying to minimize how much judges can interpret things.
Less judicial discretion.
Exactly. They push for evidence-based justice. You classify the crime, you verify the evidence, and then you pronounce a pre-written sentence. They're critical of what they term susceptible law, the law that's too open to interpretation.
Very different. And international relations, diplomacy.
That's handled by the Tranquillary, also called the Senatorium. It's made up of elected judges and retired senior intelligence officers.
Interesting mix.
Yeah. They deal with treaties, foreign policy again, with the Economiscracy's approval ambassadors, protecting the government, seeking diplomatic solutions. Their executive heads are the law age.
Law age, okay. So, going back to the bottom, those associations are key. How do people actually move up?
Right. You need to be an active member of an association for 4 years, and you need to be an elected representative within it to even be eligible for higher office.
So experience matters.
Definitely. Then those local unions, remember the 8 sectors grouped together? They elect reps into the Auralis assemblies.
And what do the Auralis assemblies do?
They manage their local constituencies, but they also have bigger roles, amending the Constitution, working with the Tranquillary on that, voting on removing the management if needed, and crucially, electing members to the state Economia.
And the Economia elects federally.
Mhm.
Wow. The voting itself must be unusual too, then.
Oh, absolutely. They have specific methods. One is the belt election or aggregate AMI. Get this. The contender actually participates in their own election or non-election using sealed number boxes. There's a system with 8 contenders, 8 boxes, and a specific total sum, 288, that must be reached when numbers are aggregated, acting as a check against tampering.
Self-checking elections. What else?
For big candidate pools, they use step selection. Basically, break everyone into smaller groups, run belt elections for each group, and the winners move on.
Okay, like tournament brackets.
Sort of, yeah. And then there's the odd-out election, or VES. This is used, for instance, when electing from Auralus to Economia. Each localit nominates one person. Then each representative votes, but they put numbers in only 7 of the 8 boxes, deliberately avoiding the box for their own localit's nominee.
Why avoid their own?
Seems designed to force consideration of other sectors, building consensus. Again, there's a total sum check here, 224 barabit, they call it. These methods really try to avoid head-to-head competition.
Definitely not your typical ballot box. Let's quickly revisit that always said economy and the Jeep. How does the state influencing prices really work day to day?
Well, the Economia and Economiscracy analyze things. They dissect costs, and then they negotiate directly with business and industry owners who, remember, are part of these assemblies.
Right, the negotiation part.
The aim is that rational, stable, legally affordable price point we talked about.
And the GIPE, how does that measure wealth again?
It looks at the resourcefulness of the people within a state or province and the value of the trade happening internally. If the JAP is over 15%, they consider the area relatively self-sufficient, relatively wealthy. It prioritizes internal strength.
Okay. So pulling it all together, Economiscracy seems to boil down to representation by job sector, these very unique consensus-focused voting ways, an economy actively shaped by the state on prices, and a legal system aiming for extreme clarity.
That sums it up pretty well, yeah. It's a fundamentally different blueprint for how society could be organized.
It really is. And it definitely makes you think, doesn't it? What are the trade-offs, between this kind of sectoral representation versus maybe individual freedoms, or just the sheer challenge of shifting to something so radical from systems we know? How could these ideas even begin to address some of the problems we